please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Let's talk about crude. Global oil prices continue to slump this week as well. So let's pull that up for you. Brent is now trading closer to the $75 a barrel mark, whereas the drop in prices is on account of increase in US crude production as well as OPEC and Russia's plans to increase output. However, this slide in global prices has not brought any relief to the Indian consumer yet. Why so? Let's put this into perspective. Prashant Nair is here with this analysis. Prashant, Brent at 75, NYMEX at 66. Why are we not seeing this trickle into the Indian market?
Oh, the question which I think needs to be answered is, even as global crude oil prices have come off, why are you and I paying the same or even more at the pump for petrol and diesel? So first, the basic crude math, right? I mean, so one drop in global crude oil prices approximately results in about a 40 to 45 paise cut in petrol and diesel prices. This is automatic considering everything else is equal. And when I say everything, primarily I'm referring to the exchange rate. And this is also before state VAT. I mean, this is before state VAT because the VAT varies from state to state. Some states have got very high. Some could be sort of called more reasonable. So $1 drop results in about a 40-45 paise cut in petrol and diesel prices. What has happened recently? What has happened is that global crude oil prices are down about $4 over the last few days. The exchange rate has strengthened, which means India is an importer. Stronger rupee is good for an importing nation. And that also is in the bag, which is that rupee against the dollar is strengthened. What has happened also is that what we pay at the pump for petrol and diesel is more expensive by about 5%. So how does it square? You got the rupee, which is stronger. You got the global crude price, which is coming off, but we are paying more. The reason for that is essentially explained by this table, and the table will come up on your screen. The way the price at the pump is set is based on a 15-day rolling average method. So, we can look at the daily price change in global crude oil prices and say, well, it should reflect here on a daily basis, but that's not how it works. If you look at what, what prices were, say, 3 days back, I'm talking about global crude oil prices, you'd notice a $3.5 odd difference, a lower crude oil price. But if you take a look at the daily 15-day average rolling numbers, I mean, there is no change. And the reason is simple, pure arithmetic. We are taking a 15-day average period and past prices were actually a lot higher. So the drop in global crude oil prices that you're seeing daily now, and thankfully it will continue, it'll take some time for it to feed into what you and I pay at the pump. So it's as simple as that. I mean, if global crude oil prices stay where they are over the next 1 week or more, or even the next few days, I mean, I think in all likelihood, what you and I pay at the pump also should start to automatically come off, provided everything else remains equal, primarily the exchange rate. So that is essentially how it is calculated. The thing to notice, of course, is also the taxes that we pay. And this is a constant graphic and numbers that have come back to over the last year and a half or so. In Mumbai, for example, the breakup on your screen is essentially what we pay for petrol. The price for petrol, the basic price for petrol, is about 38, 39 odd rupees or so. Everything else is pretty much taxes. The breakup is on your screen. The state VAT is about 16 odd rupees or so. So 38.5 rupees a litre is what the basic price is. What you and I end up paying is what, almost 85, 86 odd rupees now. So unless state governments or the central government decide to lower what they have to collect or they want to collect from us on fuel, I mean, I think this figure will not change. The only reprieve or the only hope remains that global crude oil prices continue to come off. And I think that's what the government, for now at least, is betting on as well. Back to you.
Okay, so that is the analysis as far as the reason why we are seeing that disparity in global and Indian prices. But meanwhile, even as oil prices continue to slump, as you can see there, Brent 75.3, NYMEX 66.8 against the dollar mark, we learned that the government is not considering any action on fuel prices as of now. In fact, the government is betting on oil prices to cool off further, which will give the government the cushion of sticking to a status quo. Sapna Das is here with the details. Sapna, you've been tracking this from day one. What exactly is the plan for the government now?
clearly the cooling off of global crude prices has come as a breather for the center over here. Having said that, this clearly indicates that they are in no mood now to take any immediate steps to kind of give relief to the consumers as far as the high retail prices of petrol and diesel are concerned. They're also indicating that probably they'll be comfortable with the $75 level of the crude price. If it settles around that range, then probably nothing much needs to be done immediately. They're also expecting the crude price, in fact, to soften further. If that's the case, then the story could be very different in the coming weeks. Last but not the least, also the rupee appreciation, may give some relief to the oil marketing companies. However, the big question still remains: what happens to the retail prices, which are already very high right now? If there is no measure taken at the government's end, then I suppose the consumers just have to wait for the oil marketing companies to, at some point in time, take cognizance of the way the global crude is behaving and try and pass on that benefit to the consumers. We also need to keep in mind what the law minister had said last Wednesday, that the government is taking a long-term view on the oil price situation. So we still have to wait and watch and see whether, keeping that in mind, any kind of a formula or a dynamic pricing formula, anything of that kind, whether the government comes up with that at all or no.
Okay, fair enough, Sapna. Thanks for taking us through those important details. So it'll remain exact to be seen if at all they do implement this in the next coming days. But let's talk about earnings corner. Infra Major on Lawson & Toobro's fourth quarter earnings surpassed street expectations. The net profit, for instance, beat estimates, coming in at 3,167 crore rupees, while revenues came in slightly below what we were expecting. Margins at 13.2% came in higher than what we were expecting. Management gave strong guidance for the coming quarters. They see their order inflows increasing by 10 to 12% in FY19, along with a 12 to 15% increase in the company's revenue, again higher than what the street was expecting. Straight to a story that we are breaking on CNBC TV 18 right now. The Corporate Affairs Ministry is reworking the IBC ordinance fine print after Cabinet Secretariat missive on drafting errors. Timsy Japuria is here with the details. Timsy, what exactly is the fine print that we are expecting to see?
Well, to be precise, after seeing the Cabinet's decision last week, which had brought in 3 key changes, especially a relief for home buyers, for MSME, and when it comes to the threshold of voting of Committee of Creditors. But yes, right now what we pick up from sources that ordinance will be vetted, will get a President nod only by this weekend. Why? For a simple reason, Cabinet Secretariat has sent it back to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, asking them to be very sure and very precise in their legal language so that it doesn't provide any loopholes, because legal language is open for various interpretations. That's what Cabinet Secretariat has told MCA, post which MCA is right now working with Law Ministry on the exact language that should be brought in to ring fence the Insolvency Act, so that the entire idea of these new amendments remains the way they have been presented to the Cabinet and to in the right shape that which Cabinet gave an approval to. Now, post this, by Wednesday or Thursday is what we learned from sources and government officials, that this proposal will go to the Law Ministry for final vetting, after which only this will go for a President nod. So expecting a President nod before the weekend would not be would be a surprise, and we would like to wait, is what MCA is saying, that we want to go slowly on the ordinance and on the language so that they don't go wrong. So let's see by when President gives the final nod to the IBC ordinance.
Okay, Tinsi, very quickly, the other story that you have been tracking regarding Commerce Minister's letter to Finance Minister Piyush Goyal and GST refund delays. What's the update there?
Yes, as you rightly mentioned, Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu has now again written to new Finance Minister, the additional charge Finance Minister Piyush Goyal, seeking urgent intervention, seeking a very close look at the recent numbers of stuck exporters refund. He's also sought a time of with the minister when it comes to exporters and a detailed representation to be made to him on the stuck GST refunds. What I pick up from government officials is the fact that about 20,000 plus odd crore rupees is stuck as of today when it comes to exporters refunds. 10,000 crore plus is IGST refund, and the remaining 10,000, that is 5,000 crore, is with states and 5,000 crore is with centre when it comes to the ITC refund. So government now wants especially exporters who are facing the brunt. They are facing low season also. They have again approached Commerce Minister Suresh Prabhu, post which Suresh Prabhu last week has written to Piyush Goyal seeking an urgent intervention. Let's see how soon Piyush Goyal takes up this issue particularly, because this has been troubling exporters for quite some time.
Watching CNBC TV 18, and this is Reporter's Diary. Let's get straight to the top breaking story this evening. The Tamil Nadu government has ordered permanent closure of Vedanta's Sterlite copper plant in Tuticorin. Remember, only last week an alleged police firing killed 13 protesters who were demanding a shutdown of the plant. Jude Sandith, who has been tracking the story and was in fact in Tuticorin over the weekend, is here with the details. Jude, take us through the government's order, and what does this mean for things on the ground in Tuticorin?
Well, two very important pieces of communication coming from the Tamil Nadu government. The first, of course, from the Chief Minister's office, signed off by Edappadi K. Palanisamy, which pretty much states one simple thing. The Tamil Nadu cabinet, of course, met a little earlier today, and in deciding to keep with the welfare and the wishes of the people of Tuticorin, and also in keeping with Jayalalitha's motto of being of and for the people of Tamil Nadu, the state government, it seems, has decided to bring about a permanent closure of Vedanta's Sterlite copper plant in Tuticorin, which, remember, has been in the eye of a storm with regard to several protests which have lasted for more than 100 days now, and also led to the tragic episode of police firing on, which, of course, killed 13 people and injured over 100. The second piece of communication, of course, coming very significantly from the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. Remember, although this, of course, is making breaking news at the moment, it has been reported, and we on CNBC TV 18 have been reporting how the process had already begun for a closure of the plant. Remember, the collector, Sandeep Nanduri of Tuticorin, had mentioned that the government was leaving no stone unturned towards shutting the plant down. The Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, the government order states and reiterates, had also issued directions on the 23rd of this month to permanently cancel the license, of course, because there was, of course, no consent to operate that had been received, and it, of course, will remain that way considering there were no environmental clearances yet as far as the TNPCB is concerned. The electricity to the plant, of course, had been cut off from the 24th of this month. So in a government order dated the 28th of May, which is, of course, today, the government had gone about directing the Pollution Control Board to permanently close and seal Vedanta's Sterlite copper plant. And what does this change on the ground exactly? Well, not much, given the fact that Vedanta has already said that they will, of course, be taking legal recourse with regard to this order itself. So for now, temporary relief is all that we can report as far as Tuticorin is concerned. Back to you.
Well, absolutely. It is temporary relief at this point in time, and we need to see how things progress. And of course, Vedanta's official reaction coming in after that. Thanks, Jude, for taking us through that. We will keep getting Jude back to give us updates on the story, but let's quickly take a quick glimpse at how Indian equity markets fared today. Markets beginned expiry week on a strong note, with indices gaining close to 1% in trade today. So Nifty reclaimed that 10,700 mark in intraday trade after 7 trading sessions. The Sensex surged about 241 points. Banks outperformed today, financials contributing 37 points to Nifty gains, while mid-cap reclaimed that 19,000 mark. So it's green across your screens as far as the Indian equity markets are concerned. As promised, let's address those flashes on your screen. This is CNBC TV 18 news break that we are breaking on the channel right now. We learn from sources that lenders of Binani Cement are likely to vote in favour of Ultratech Cement's bid. Ritu Singh is here with the latest. Ritu, take us through the fine print. You have the exact numbers. Of course, the caveat is that the voting results are yet to be declared officially, but we have the exact breakup with us. So what is likely to happen based on the numbers that you are getting? And let's talk about those first.
Well, numbers are very important, and we spoke to several bankers over the course of the day. The meeting is about to conclude just any time now, and that's when the final results will be known. But it seems that all the banks that we spoke to are overwhelmingly in favour of Ultratech Cement's bid for Binani Cement, because their offer is a good 1,000 odd crores higher than what Dalmia Bharat Consortium has offered. So Ultratech Cement's offer, we've gotten details of, is 7690 crore rupees. Now in this, the operational creditors will be paid about 620 crore rupees, but the financial creditors have a lot to gain. There's about 4,048 crores to the secured financial creditors and 2,428 crores to the unsecured financial creditors, which includes IDBI Bank, Bank of India, Canara Bank, Exim Bank, several other banks that are likely to benefit. And this compares with Dalmia Bharat's offer of about 6590 crore rupees. So there was a good bit of differential. The only worry among lenders at this point is that there will be litigation involved. If they do vote in favour of Ultratech Cement, Dalmia Bharat will take this matter up, and the hearing is scheduled scheduled on the 4th of June in the Supreme Court and the 10th of July in the NCLAT. So they do want to know what will be the next course of action in terms of litigations that will most definitely come into play once the bid is over. Of course, the results, as I said, will be known very, very shortly, and we'll give you the final detail as to how many lenders exactly have voted in favor of Ultratech by then.
Very quickly, Ritu, a second question. As far as what happened in the Supreme Court today, agreeing to hear Dalmia plea against Ultratech bid being considered by COC, what kind of an issue would that be to the entire process?
Well, you know, Dalmia Bharat had written a letter to the COC and RP. What they had alleged is that Ultratech's bid should not even qualify under Section 29A, which is why they've now moved the Supreme Court. The hearing is pending in the NCLAT. They're saying that Ultratech acted in consortium with Binani Industries, which by default, being the parent of Binani Cement, is ineligible under 29A, and therefore Ultratech should also not be allowed to bid. So that has been their main contention, and that's why they've moved the Supreme Court on this.
Okay, fair enough, Ritu. And Ritu, of course, is going to be back once the details of that voting are official or once we have that confirmation coming in. But for now, we will have to take a very short break. News and updates will continue on the other side. Stay right there.